Cool.
Off
Perfect.
there, on there.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So no, thanks for coming on, Mary. I think it's
Okay.
going to be really kind of inspiring for others to hear. So I'm here with Mary, who works with us at Fruci Fit as well, as a client. And I want to get Mary on today, not just to talk about what you've done with Fruci Fit and what you are doing now, which is amazing, by the way, in terms of the results that you're getting and the habits that you've added in, but also your journey in terms of where you've come from before that. So Mary, yeah, if you introduce yourself to give people a bit of a backstory of where you're at the moment.
Okay. Well, last month I was in 𝐤𝐚𝐫𝐲'𝐬. I'm 11 years surviving now with stage 4 cancer. And originally my prognosis was very short. And I asked for a median because it's hard to pin people down. And it was very, very short indeed. So I didn't really expect to be here now, but I am. And it's been quite a long journey. And I've learned so much that I'd like to share. I really want to share with people because at the start of my journey, I was very lucky to have a friend who was in the same or had been in the same position as me. So I could ask her, but a lot of people don't have somebody who's been through this. When you've been diagnosed with cancer, it can be very, very lonely. That's on the telly advert as well, about the lonely journey. And it really can, because nobody really gets it unless you've got cancer or had cancer. So I suppose I'd really like to speak to people. There's 3 groups of people. One, people who haven't had cancer and who are looking to prevent cancer. You know, they don't want it. So let's have a lifestyle that might help us avoid getting cancer. Secondly, people who have got or had just the first stage cancer, and hopefully they're cured or will be cured and operated on. And the third set of people would be people like me who've got stage 4 cancer, and it's not, my cancer isn't curable. However, 11 years on, it's treatable, and I'm still going, and I'm still able to put on weight, Matt. I've still got that monkey on my shoulder that tells me to do the wrong thing. So there you are.
Yeah, no, and I think it'd be good to go through first and foremost, just kind of before we go into that, because I think it's important to, you know, no one really knows what it's like until obviously it would happen, and you know, unfortunately, you got that. Tell us about, you know, what happened when you were diagnosed, and how that went, like, because I think the reason being is I think this will help a lot of people from a point of view of managing it and actually being aware of it, but also things that you're doing now to stay positive, and what's helped you as well, not just with Fruci Fit, but way before that as well.
Yeah. Okay. It's the psychological side of it that's been the most difficult for me, really. I mean, treatment's not fun, but it's the mental side of it that I really have struggled with. And that's staying positive. You just mentioned it.
Yeah. And
people say, oh, stay positive.
Yeah.
Well, how can I? I've only got so many months to live. I mean, I can't stay positive, but I learned to do that. And I learned concrete ways. You can't just stay positive. If someone says, oh, get positive, stop being so negative, I just wanted to punch him, basically. So there you are.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like, it's like, you know, when you relate it to food, like, you know, if you say don't eat that, want that, like pink elephant. If it's like be positive, the more we try in any aspect, the harder it gets, right? So what have you kind of, I guess, before we go into what you did to stay positive, like, what emotions were going through your head? Like, tell us kind of.
Okay, when they sat me down, I had no idea. I was 44. I had got a little bit of breathing problems, and the doctor had been saying, oh, well, you're fat, Mrs. Maycock, fat people get asthma, and they've been treating me for asthma for about 6 months, actually. But this is 11 years ago now. I think they're a bit more switched on now. And yes, I was fat. So I was taking the treatments, nothing was working. And then one day my doctor said, oh, you're pretty fat. You probably got a clot in your lung. So off you go to a hospital. And they just sat me down the next day after doing scans and said, no, sorry, it's not. It's cancer through both your lungs, your liver, everywhere. And it all started from there. And it was just so frightening. It was so, oh, I've got the cat again. Here she is. She bit me this morning, didn't she? Anyway, so I might have to run in a minute. Yeah, so it was just so frightening. I felt just completely helpless, because all of a sudden, from being fit mare, I mean, okay, I was fat and fit, but I was reasonably fit with a bit of breathlessness. I went from this I just would never be the same again. And I think whatever your cancer diagnosis, even if it's stage 1, you still feel terrible. You know, I mean, how come? This isn't the me that I know. This is somebody different. It's you're just never quite the same again. But it's how to work with that, Matt. It's how to so it's helplessness, really, and fear. And I learned over the years how to work with it, and that's really what I'd like to share with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, even the connotations with the word, right? Just hearing the word, regardless of the stage, it can be, yeah.
Well, I lost my.
Yeah. So, yeah, tell us that. How did you stay positive? Like, what did you do to stay positive?
So, really, when you're helpless and you're afraid, you become a victim, really. Or I did. I became, you know, poor mare, poor. I was very hopeless. And what I needed to do was take control instead of become that victim, that sort of hopeless mare who is going to die, probably quite soon. That's what they said. Don't know, still here though. So I became very helpless and very fearful and very anxious. And you talk about a monkey on your shoulder. I had the dinosaur on my shoulder that used to come around and go, oh, you're going to die. Oh, you've got cancer. Oh. And I just spent my whole life in this state of anxiety. And I needed to fix that somehow. And I didn't know how to fix that. So I did a lot of research. Everybody, I think, who gets cancer, or a lot of people who get cancer, if they're like me, so I found two sets of people in my experience. There's people who don't want to know, and that's great. And that's the way they tackle it. But with me, I wanted to know. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know. I have a very high need for information, so much so that my oncologist sent me off to a doctor's conference in London. Oh, wow. And she said, I'm supposed to go to this, but you can go. So I went to a doctor's conference about metastatic cancer then, which was very informative. So I had that high need for information, and that gave me the sense that I was doing something to, it gave me control. It gave me my power back again, that I knew what was going on. And nowadays, things are so much better. You actually have a say in your treatment. They work with the patient. In 11 years ago, it wasn't quite as good as it is now in that respect. So I sort of had to be a bit more demanding. Yeah, so when I started to take control, which was actually in one of the books that I was reading about how they did a study on rats, and the rats that had control over their pain were the ones that did better with cancer. And I thought, oh, well, I need to embrace this. I need to do this. Well, what could I control? I can control how healthy I am. I can control my diet. I can control my exercise. I can try and take back that mental, people say, oh, stay positive. Well, how can I? There's nothing to be positive about. Well, there is. You have to find something concrete to be positive about. And that was my thing. Once I started to take control, I then began to look at my diet, look at my exercise. How do I stay the most healthy I can to receive my treatments? Whatever it was. They said I'd never have an operation. I did in the end. And how I can change things myself to make things happen for me, to edge myself into those people who live longer with cancer, which is what I've done. And, and alongside the national health medical treatment, which is the most important thing, I've assisted myself, and that's through diet, exercise. There's a very long list. Mindfulness, meditation. I think your Tai Chi classes are quite good, actually. I love that because that's very mindful as well, keeps you grounded. So that's, people would say stay positive. I couldn't go, oh, I'm going to live, I'm going to be healthy, that doesn't do anything. You actually have to do something about it, take control. Like the books all say, people who take control do better. So I did my research. I found internet not so necessarily as useful because it's not regulated. I've got several books that I read quite quickly, and I changed my diet and lifestyle immediately. But that was 11 years ago, and I didn't have Fruci Fit, sorry.
Everyone.
I always do that.
Fruci. Yeah.
So, and actually now I am really pleased that I found Fruci Fit because it's helping me again, because I've lost my way over the last 2 or 3 years with COVID. I've got hip trouble, haven't been exercising, diet slipped a bit. I'm thinking, oh dear, this isn't good. I'm eating to try and prevent my cancer growing anymore, or obviously alongside the national health treatments and stuff. But so that's where I was. The diet and the exercise gives me hope, gives me a focus on that sort of is my positive thinking, because I've got hope that I will be here in years to come, and I have the focus on the diet, the exercise, the healthy living, then I don't worry so much because I trust it. And I trust that I'll still be here, even though right at the start of my journey, I was laughed at. Definitely. And it's unusual for someone with metastatic cancer like me to still be here, or it was then. I don't think it is now. I think things are improving a lot more.
Yeah.
So nowadays, if you are diagnosed with metastatic cancer, I think your chances of going on for a long, long time are much higher than they were. But 11 years ago, it was a bit dire. But I also feel it's a really important message for people to keep fit and healthy who haven't got cancer, or who have had like an early stage 1 cancer, operated, had the treatment and are off treatment. Hang on a second, think about preventing cancer from coming back, and then that gives you control. Yes.
Yeah, and it's a real difficult one, isn't it? Because when you look at the research, I remember, when I was at Oxford Brookes University, especially when we covered, the role of nutrition and exercise around that. And obviously there's genetics in there as well. There's lots of other variables, smoking, lifestyle, to sleep, all these things. But I actually remember being in there, and they were like, so what's people asking, like, how much alcohol is binge drinking worse than the odd drink? And it was like, the researcher was like, there's no like recommended amount. It's
No,
just all,
no.
but you know, in life in general, it's all about risk and reward, isn't it?
Mm.
What we're willing to do. But in terms of the role of exercise and nutrition in it always had an amazing effect. But obviously you've got the psychology side of it. Whereas, you know, like, you know, if you've been diagnosed and then someone says, well, let's start a big regime straight away and exercise, that could work out negative to a lot of people, because there's, you know, there's a lot to take on, and then, you know, finding the right type of
I think
exercise.
mine came on, I do say that to people, that's quite right, because my diet, I did change stuff reasonably quickly, but I refined it over the first 2 years. So it wasn't like, you're doing a healthy lifestyle. And I was 17.5 stone when I was first diagnosed, and I lost weight over the summer eating healthily. And exercise helped my mood, actually.
Which is like staying positive, isn't it? Like, instead of try to stay positive, what can I do? And it's something that we ask all the time. You know, what can I do today to create energy, to create positivity? Because it won't just come, you know.
No. And I find, actually, waking up in the morning and going in my garden and doing a 1-minute workout with Matt. And my neighbours are looking over going, what the heck's she doing? And I'm normally outside, I've got the phone propped up on the wall, and I'm doing because I can't do a lot of hip stuff because I've got a bad hip. Starts off my day really well, thank you.
It's that control, isn't it? It's control, you know. Like, I like what you said about that control. It gives you something to, these are my critical minimums, if you like. If I get done, I know I've got them done. And it's matching what you can do with your expectations, like you said about your hip as well. Like, doing things that you can do, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 minute, whatever that is, do that multiple times. We know that helps with insulin sensitivity, which is all linked to our blood sugar levels, our hunger level, potentially weight as well. So well,
I mean, there's certain things that I also control, like I avoid high sugar foods, high refined diet. No, not for cancer. There's quite a lot of ways I approach it. But of course, that's something I tend to talk about privately with people anyway.
And I think
what suits me doesn't suit everybody else. You know, we each have to find our own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, like, I think what they've told you, just keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah, they have.
So what do you feel's kind of helped the most over the years?
Well, I wrote a list earlier. Hang on, here's my list. Asking for help was the first one. Actually, not just sitting on your own, worrying, thinking, oh, maybe I won't be here in 6 years' time. Actually saying, look, I need help with this. I'm struggling. Asking for help from your doctors, asking for help from family. Family actually really want the help. I know when my own mother died of breast cancer, she shut me out, and I desperately wanted to help her, and she wouldn't talk about it. She wouldn't let me near her. And I really, really wanted to be there for her. And I felt that helplessness, and I still feel that today. And so with my own kids, because all my kids are at school, I just opened up and said, look, I didn't say every detail, but this is the problem. And when I cried, they saw me cry, I'm afraid, and they did see me upset. But then they were able to help me. You know, Mum, I'll get you a cup of tea. Mum, I'll do this. And in fact, I think that helped them, that they could help me, because they felt useful, and that gave them some control. And actually, that word control is really important, because none of us want to feel helpless, do we? So so asking for help and accepting help when it's offered.
And not feeling like you can't say yes to that, I guess, because it's difficult for everyone, isn't it? The people go, I don't want to go over the top. Do I need to ask for permission? But it's quite I don't think it's talked about enough, like that side of things.
Well, for me as well, being stage 4, and that meant my cancer was incurable, and in fact it was very widespread through my lungs, my liver, plus everywhere, and I got a lung full of fluid, so I wasn't breathing, and it was very dire for me. And so of course the hospice were involved, and oh dear, my children used to scream down the stairs, "Mom, the death nurse is coming." She used to pull up her car next to my house, and the kids would scream, and I would be going, "Shh." And in fact, the hospice, our local hospice, was absolutely fantastic. But I found that really hard mentally to deal with. But of course, anyone who's not stage 4 doesn't get that. But I was. And in the meantime, wow, they've been amazing. They've given me help with money. They've, not actual money, but financial advice and things that I would have never realized hospices help with. So that's my journey. And I'm still on the books, but hey, 11 years on. So yeah, asking for help was the first one, and accepting help, and finding things like Fruci Fit, which I wish I'd had 11 years ago, because that would have definitely helped me, because I had so much weight to lose. I needed to get on this healthy lifestyle quite quickly. It was quite urgent for me to do that, and I would have appreciated it, but I'm here now. So the other thing, research, but not there's a load of rubbish out there, so you have to be careful with research. Was really helpful. Books were really helpful. My first ever book, am I allowed to show a book?
Yeah, sure.
Was that one. And it's Anti-Cancer, A New Way of Life, and it had studies, it had actual science in it. And the other one I like was that one, and that actually it's a very colourful book with lots of different foods that you can eat to try and help prevent cancer. And I love that one. And that gave me focus, helped me with a hope, helped me think, oh, things aren't that bad. I've got some control over things.
And I think that's the key thing, control, right? Because and the great thing about, if they cite the studies, you can, if you were to Google that study, you could then go into that study and look even deeper, because research is a very big spectrum, and remember, research is looking at what happens on average to the average person. And when you're faced with what you're faced with, at the end of the day, if it says, right, let's try X amount of this food, try and increase this food, at the very least, it's probably going to have some antioxidant benefits. At the very least, it's probably, it might just help in terms of weight loss, and indirectly these can all have impacts and positive effects.
I do remember going to our local hospital, and the radiologist looking at me, and I stank as well, because I used to eat a lot of ginger and garlic. I'm garlic nan. That's what the kids call me, garlic nan. So I used to go in and stink everyone out with the turmeric and then garlic, and my teeth are still brown because of the turmeric. But hey, and I remember her sitting me down and saying, "You do realize that there is no proof for this diet, don't you?" And I said, "Well, yes, but I don't really mind, because it suits me. I feel really healthy on it. I'm now cycling 10 miles a day, when I was 17.5 stone and sitting, doing, not able to breathe." And even if it's a placebo effect, I don't care. It's working for me. And to be honest, I'm here 11 years later than they said. So I just, most of the diet I keep doing. However, I eat too much. So I get fat. And I haven't been exercising because of my bad hip. So you've been helping a lot with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and on that, like, what, if you want to share kind of what you have achieved so far since joining Fruci Fit as well, in terms of how you found that, in terms of, because obviously, like you said, you kind of felt yourself with COVID and everything going backwards a bit. Yeah, where were you at? Like,
well, I put on weight. I'm not quite back to where I was originally. I'm not going to share with you how much. I'm a couple of stone less than that, but I'm still pretty fat. That was over COVID, and the fact that I've got a hip that's completely worn out, as the surgeon said. It's completely worn out. There's other words I use for it. So what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, just where you were at before joining.
So yeah, COVID had meant I didn't really want to go out because I was shielding. I had my shielding letter. I wasn't really going anywhere. My hip was too sore to do much exercise. And then I got quite down, a bit lonely. I'm quite a sociable person. So I put on weight. Then the diet slips a bit, doesn't it? But not completely, because it's quite important I carry on. But I was just eating more than I was using. Really unfit. Pretty sad, actually. Managing, I had children living with me, shielding with me. So I was managing the children. So I was very, very busy as well as all this. And now, actually, things are improving a lot. My mood's lifted. Like I say, when I get up in the morning, I get out there, do yourself, buddy. I'm up and doing all that. That you did, one of your videos was on light as well, and the effect that light has in the morning. So I'm up there looking at getting some sunshine first thing in the morning. I'm out walking. I think it's given me that focus I need, because it is your three things: the food, focus, fitness.
Yeah. So
the focus I need to actually think, food, fitness, focus, isn't it? I need to think, where do I need to focus today in order to help myself move forward, really. And I've lost half a stone. I have lost half a stone, and I've kept it off, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Despite weddings and parties, and and I didn't eat the kids' food at the weekend. So and I love the videos, all your videos. But I'm afraid I don't do any rigid. Maybe I need to be a bit more, plan it a bit better. My meals I don't plan well enough at the moment, and I need to. But the videos, I tend to, it's like a box of chocolates, and I think, what do I need today? And I have a look and see, oh, I could do with that. Bit of motivation. So I do that. Thanks, Matt.
No, that's great. And actually, you don't have to change it all at once, and you're back to it. You're focusing on that. You getting in the short workouts, getting in that walk, getting in the daylight, the Tai Chi you've been doing as well. All of these come into it. And then, yes, you could maybe plan better, but there's always going to be something that we could possibly do better. And we always describe it like kind of spinning plates a little bit. There's always, you just got to make sure you keep your eye on all the plates. They're spinning around, and you don't want to drop them all on there as well. So no, cool. And kind of, what would you say to anyone who's thinking of joining, and in terms of Fruci Fit?
I'd say, because you did this freebie thing, didn't you? And I would say do one of those. And I would also say have a look at the videos that you've put up. You've got some free ones, haven't you? Yeah. So I would say have a look at those, because I mean, I didn't know you from Adam a few months ago, and now I just feel much more positive, much more switched on. I find the way you are on the videos is very motivating as well. It's like, Matt's doing this, I've got to keep doing it too. If he can get up at 6 in the morning and do his yourself bunny running, I can do it too. So that's the way it is, and it is really, really motivating. And I found the catch up as well, because that's it. It holds me to account with what I'm doing, which isn't always brilliant, as you know. And it's sort of it's somebody there that is actually invested in me and in what I'm doing to help myself. And my family, I mean, after 11 years of cancer, my family are really like, oh, bugger off, Mum.
In a nice way, I'm sure.
They don't want to hear it, you know, me banging on about how fat I am, or how I really want to do this, but I'm struggling. But that is something that you've been there to do. Sorry, but it's really helped me with the motivation and the just having someone there who's invested in me and helping me, because I don't want to put it on my husband either too much, because, you know, he does enough for me. And when you're a bit lost, it's quite nice to have help getting the focus back again.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to what you said about, you know, what's helped the most over the years, about asking for help. Like, you know, one of the key things, you know, regardless of anything else, like when you look at weight loss studies and what's the variable that stays the same despite low carb, high carb, all these diets, is that they can all work for people, providing there's a level of support, whether that is from family, friends, coaches, Fruci Fit, whoever. Like the support is one thing that seems to be consistent in all the studies.
Yes,
which is fascinating. Yeah. And there was one question that you said, the "are you sure" question that you've
I think
that's so key, even as like in nutrition as well. Like, to me, even question me. I love someone saying, you know, there is some videos I do where, you know, people say, what about this, and they've all got great points, and I think you can always justify. But yeah, talk us through that, the key question that stuck with you throughout your journey.
Well, my journey obviously is quite different to a lot of people's journey, because most people aren't diagnosed as stage 4 straight away. And so my journey was a bit dire at the start, because they were just saying, well, that's it really, you know. So are you sure?
Yeah.
Really? Yesterday I was only 44 and perfectly fit as far as I knew, and now I'm not. So it was I think it started there. But it is the question that I found most helpful, and it helps with everything, actually, even with the children. If the doctors this is awful, I shouldn't admit this, but if the doctors are busy and my child here has I don't know, sinusitis or something, and I can tell they're really, really sick, and the doctors don't really want to see them unless they're really, really sick, and they say, oh, you know, are you sure is it an emergency? And I'll say to them, are you sure it's not? And that word, are you sure, makes people think. So I'll say, like with my breast lump, in the end they took it out, because they said, well, they were saying to me, oh, well, you know, there's cancer in your lungs and liver will be the ones that kill you, so not much point in taking the breast lump out. And I said, are you sure? And they said, well, not really. So I said, well, then send me to somewhere you will be sure. So they sent me to London, and the professor there said, definitely worth taking the breast lump out. And he was sure. And that's the thing sometimes. And with the best will in the world, medical people will do what they have to do. They have their rules they have to go by. But just sometimes you say, are you sure? Are you sure that's the right treatment for me? And that's, I'm sure that saved my life a few times. Just asking.
I think it's a powerful question that we take a lot for granted, don't we? And it helps us all stop and think. You know, you can apply that "are you sure" to anything, couldn't you? You can apply that to there's a Quality Street tin. Are you sure you want one?
Okay.
It's that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, my monkey's sure. Monkey's real.
Am I sure? And to question everything. You know, I think that's a positive.
And the curiosity with cancer especially, it's very easy to be frightened and shut down because you're frightened. But trying to open up and be curious about the treatment, and not just go, oh, you know, close my eyes, get it done. And that curiosity, the "are you sure," are we sure this is the right treatment for me? All that sort of thing. Curiosity is an important part, but it's very easy to close down if you're frightened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lot of positives from that in terms of, you know, everything from your journey with cancer as well, and then also, you know, hopefully that, even if that helps one other person, you know, just in terms of your control, some of the key points that you've said on there, I think are so powerful for anyone, not to mention what you've done around getting back to it, losing the half a stone, getting back to the habits, working around what you can do with your
you
hip
still
as
get
well.
fat on an anti-cancer diet. That's the trouble. I can still eat enough because it's so nice. It really is nice. But what I would like to share with people, that I am happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk about diet. What I can never give advice, but I can say what suits me.
Yeah.
And what I've done. And even my medics, although they can't, there's lots of legality around what you can say and what you can't, I think. But they can't say, oh, the diet's helping. But they have told me not to change anything after 11 years, and I'm still stable. Don't change anything, Mary. So even they think now that there's something in diet, exercise, healthy living, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I guess one thing we didn't talk about, did you have any fears about joining Fruci Fit before? Like, was there anything that you thought, oh, no, they won't be able to do it?
I was a bit scared about meeting people, but in fact I haven't met anyone yet. I am perhaps thinking about coming to the Christmas do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But in fact it suited me because it's online. There's so many different things. I'm busy. I could be busy all day with Fruci Fit, which I'm not, because I've got kids to look after and things like that. So I was a bit frightened about coming in, but now that I've done some of the online stuff, I'm less frightened. So I might come in and see people at some point. I was a bit afraid it would be too dramatic, too quick, but it's been very gradual and very helpful and motivating. And I was all a little bit worried it wouldn't be worth the money. Sorry, Matt.
I think there's a normal.
But it has been. It absolutely has been. And my mood is so much better than it was. Much more positive. But not that hopelessly chant, oh, I'm positive, because that's useless. I'm positive because I'm doing something about it.
Yeah. No, brilliant. That's great to hear, and keep it going. You just really good progress with what you've done so far, and just keep it going.
Do better. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better.
Yeah, that's with everyone though, right? Like we're never perfect. Like, you know, will I do another set of pull-ups on that? I'm not sure. I should do, but I will do now.
I hate that word should. I hate the word should.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. I get to do rather than should. See the difference. I get to do pull-ups today because I can, you know.
Yes, and I want to do it.
Yeah,
I really want to do this. Yes.
So that I can feel like this.
The reasons. Oh, in my book, where's my Fruci book? I've actually put so I can get to them really quickly. I've put my hunger levels thing and my reasons for doing it on a tab that I can just open it up.
Yeah, that's key. Like, there's I did a post yesterday actually on online about just exactly about that. About, you know, sometimes when you're lacking motivation, we just need to go back to the whys. Like, I want to lose weight and get fit because, and go deeper because I want to move more because. And you go deeper. I want to get up and down on the floor to play with the kids. I want to be running around there. I want to be chasing them on their bike. All of these things. Like, then it becomes a bit more real. Yeah. Yes.
But with me, if it's not easy to get at and I haven't put tabs on my thing, I won't look. My monkey will take me off and do something else. So it has to be very easy. And actually the Fruci Fit is very easy to navigate. And I love the Facebook thing and the Zoom stuff. Not that I've done online things live, but I have done catch-ups and things, so
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's, your body doesn't care when and where, how you do it, right? Whether you do it with us in person, online, catch up. The key thing is that you do it, and that's where that support and accountability comes in as well. And so team, so well done for showing up and doing it. We can only provide what we can, but it's always a two-way thing. So well done.
Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you for that, Mary.
No
Awesome.
problem.